Welcome back to the Thinking Stack. We started mapping out karma last time, and today we're diving into layer 2, what we're calling moral intelligence.
Yeah, layer 1 was about karma as action, and really the internal programming that gets laid down, right? Not fate, not reward or punishment from outside, but these unconscious patterns we build inside ourselves.
Exactly, the traces left by action.
Mm-hmm.
But layer 2 gets, well, stickier, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's not just what you do, it's the why. The intention behind it, the stories we tell ourselves to justify it, the whole emotional climate surrounding the action.
Right. This is where karma really feels like a kind of moral feedback system.
Which leads us to that central question for this layer. Okay, what is the right thing to do here now for these people given who I am? It's personal.
It definitely brings ethics into the frame, but hang on, isn't there generally a shared sense of what's right and wrong? Doesn't that kind of guide the moral aspect of karma?
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But it's surprisingly wobbly ground. Take guilt, for example.
Mm-hmm.
We tend to think of guilt as this universal signpost for wrongdoing.
But it's not.
Well, some frameworks suggest it's less universal, more like a piece of software running.
Software.
Yeah, programmed by your own personal moral schema, your internal rule book.
Okay, my moral schema. So where does that come from? Am I born with it, or?
Oh, definitely not just hardwired. Think of it like code that gets written throughout your life.
So how does it get coded?
By, well, everything. Your upbringing, obviously.
Yeah.
The culture you're immersed in, its norms, its taboos.
Religion plays a part, I assume.
A huge part, often. Plus, your own direct experiences, things that happened to you, things you witnessed, even the books you read, the media you consume. It all shapes that blueprint.
Okay, let me try and picture this. So, say in one culture, avoiding conflict is paramount. Making someone lose face is a big deal.
Right.
So someone from that background might feel intense guilt over a minor disagreement, something someone from a more direct culture wouldn't even register as problematic. They might even see it as being honest.
Exactly. Same external action, but potentially vastly different internal experiences, different feelings, different judgments. And that's the immediate karmic imprint we're talking about here in layer 2.
So my personal moral code literally tunes my own karmic feedback loop.
Precisely. And here's a really key shift in thinking. The negative feelings, the internal churning we experience after doing something we feel is wrong,
Yeah.
that is the consequence.
It's not an external punishment coming later.
No, we're not punished for our actions in this view. We're punished by them, by the internal dissonance, the psychic friction they create against our own code.
Okay, that makes sense. It's the internal misalignment. But what about when we judge other people? How does that play into our own karma?
Ah, yes. Judging others, that's where it's really fascinating and kind of self-implicating.
How so?
When you point a finger, when you judge someone harshly, you're not just having a thought about them, you're actively doing something inside yourself.
Like what?
You're essentially installing code.
Oh.
You're wiring your own nervous system to react strongly to whatever it is you're condemning.
So I'm building the mechanism for my own future judgment.
You got it. Think of it like programming.
Yeah.
Behavior X is unacceptable and deserves this negative feeling. Then, down the line, if you find yourself doing behavior X even slightly,
That program runs automatically against myself.
bingo, even if nobody else knows, you've already set the trap by judging someone else so harshly.
Yeah.
It's like this spiritual boomeranging effect.
Wow. So if I'm constantly hammering someone for being dishonest, I'm basically creating this internal software that screams, liar, bad. And then if I tell even a white lie later...
Your own system flags it, triggers that judgment, that guilt, that self-criticism you preloaded. It's a powerful feedback loop.
Okay, that really reframes judgment. It's not just an opinion, it's an action with internal consequences.
Absolutely. And this perspective sheds a harsh light on how karma gets misused, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. You hear it all the time. Well, they must have deserved it. It's their bad karma.
Right. As if suffering is always some kind of cosmic payback. It's used to justify indifference, or worse.
It's incredibly harmful, saying things like, their poverty is just their karma from a past life, or they attracted that illness. It's not spiritual insight. It's often just moral laziness, or even a form of, well, ethical blackmail.
Blackmail.
Yeah, it shuts down compassion. There's actually a quote attributed to the Buddha in the Majjhima Nikaya, something like, to say all suffering is the result of past karma is to slander the Buddha and destroy compassion.
Destroy compassion.
Because making that kind of judgment, even silently, it cultivates negative qualities within you. Rigidity, lack of empathy, callousness. You're reinforcing those patterns in your own system.
And then what happens when life turns? And I'm the one suffering. maybe for reasons that seem totally random or unfair.
Exactly. The very judgmental framework you built, the one that dismissed others' pain so easily, is likely the one that will turn on you. You end up trapped in self-blame or confusion, fueled by the same lack of compassion you showed others.
It's like being crushed by the wheel you thought you were just observing.
That's a good way to put it. It really underlines that karma isn't some cold, mechanical law. It's deeply ethically entangled. It's about our stance, our intention.
Intention, that keeps coming up.
Because it's central. The Buddha reportedly said, I think it's in the Anguttara Nikaya, it is volition, monks, that I call karma, for having willed, one acts by body, speech, and mind. Volition, intention.
So the will behind the action is key.
It's fundamental. The karmic imprint isn't just about the visible act. It's shaped by the underlying intention, the motive, the justification, maybe even the hidden agendas.
Okay, so if intention is paramount, then being ethical isn't just about following rules to get good karma points or avoid cosmic demerit.
Not at all. It's much deeper. It's about internal transformation.
How so?
There's that line in the Bhagavad-gita. You have the right to action, but not to the fruits of action.
I've always found that one tricky. Does it mean consequences don't matter?
I don't think so. I think it means your focus shouldn't be on manipulating the outcome or chasing rewards. The focus is on the quality of the action itself and, crucially, how performing that action shapes you, your inner state, your being.
So acting ethically isn't about external reward, but about internal hygiene. Cleaning up your own act, literally.
Kinda, yeah. Or like neurological sculpting, maybe?
Neurological sculpting, I like that.
Acting with integrity, with compassion, with clarity, it actually wires you differently. It makes you less reactive, less likely to fall into those negative feedback loops of guilt or judgment or anger in the future.
You're shaping your future self through present action.
Exactly. You act well now so that your future experience is less distorted, less painful, less burdened by those karmic echoes.
This really highlights another misuse of karma then, doesn't it? When people shut down someone else's pain by saying, just accept it, it's your karma.
Ugh, yes. That's not helpful. It's actually quite damaging.
It feels like the opposite of compassion.
It is. It's a form of, well, you could call it karmic abuse. Using a spiritual concept to invalidate or silence someone's real suffering. And that act of silencing, that itself is a potent karmic action.
For the person doing the silencing.
Absolutely. What kind of inner state are you cultivating when you do that? Avoidance, probably. Fear of discomfort. Maybe suppressed guilt for not helping. A subtle kind of cruelty, even. All that gets programmed in.
So using it's just karma to daunt responsibility, to justify inaction, or to make someone feel bad for feeling bad.
Is actively sowing seeds for your own future negativity. You're creating those distorted patterns within yourself right then and there. That's the immediate karmic consequence of that ethical sidestep.
It really drives home that karma isn't just my private business. It's relational, it's social.
Totally interconnected. Every interaction has a karmic dimension, co-created by everyone involved. Ancient texts like the Taittiriya Upanishad talk about dharma righteousness, ethical conduct, as the very foundation of how karma operates. Without that ethical intelligence, karma just becomes a blunt instrument.
So moral intelligence isn't about being perfectly good, but striving for what? Cleanliness.
Yeah, being clean is a good way to think about it. Clean in your intent, mindful of your tone and timing, genuinely making space for the other person's reality. That's ethical intelligence in action.
Okay, this is a lot to chew on. What are the practical takeaways then? How do we navigate this layer more consciously?
Right, bringing it down to earth. A few key things. First, really start noticing your judgments. See them not just as thoughts about others, but as potential programming for yourself. Remember that boomerang effect.
Got it. Notice the judgment. What else?
Second, examine your guilt. When you feel it, get curious. Don't just push it away. Ask, what specific rule in my personal moral code just got broken? Where did that rule come from? Is it truly serving me?
So guilt as a diagnostic tool for my own programming. Makes sense.
Third, and this is a big one, make a conscious effort to stop using karma to blame victims or explain away suffering in a simplistic way. It harms others and it hardens you.
Right. Resist the easy judgmental explanation.
And finally, try asking better questions when you're facing tough choices or seeing others struggle.
Better questions? Like what?
Well, instead of, whose fault is this karma? Maybe ask, what would clarity, what would compassion do here?
Okay.
Instead of, what's the karmic reward if I do the right thing? Maybe ask, what action leaves the cleanest inner residue? What feels free of distortion?
Free of distortion, meaning free of guilt, fear, the need to control.
Exactly. What action feels authentic and aligned, regardless of the outcome?
So the invitation is to really check that internal programming, especially when we hear ourselves thinking, oh, it's just my karma.
Yes. Pause. Listen to the tone of that voice. Is it resigned? Fearful? Self-punishing? Is it based on guilt programmed by others, or does it come from a place of genuine self-awareness?
Because just repeating, it's my karma, based on old, unexamined guilt, isn't really engaging with karma. It's just running an old program.
Precisely. Layer 2 is about seeing how that internalized moral code becomes the mechanism through which karma operates for you and bringing conscious awareness to that whole process.
Okay, so that wraps up our exploration of layer 2. Moral intelligence, seeing how our ethics, our intentions, our judgments are constantly shaping our inner world and consequently our future.
And the key seems to be cultivating moral clarity, not based on rigid rules or external validation, but on self-awareness and compassion. That becomes the compass. We saw how guilt, judgment, even pretending to be virtuous can really muddy the waters karmically.
Right. So next time on The Thinking Stack.
We move to part 3, karma as pattern, not punishment.
Ooh, pattern, not punishment. What does that involve?
We'll zoom out a bit, look beyond individual acts and immediate consequences to see how karmic patterns can play out over longer stretches of time and even within larger systems, families, communities, societies. We'll touch on why cause and effect isn't always linear and how seemingly unfair situations might look different when viewed through a wider systemic lens.
Sounds fascinating. Looking forward to that.
Me too.
And for you, listening right now, here's something to mull over until next time. Think about one judgment you made recently, maybe even today, about someone else. Just hold it in your mind. Now ask yourself, what piece of moral software might that judgment be installing inside you? What potential future reaction might you be programming right now?